Enterprise communications. Well, we're one of the largest traditional, if you will, telephony vendors in the world, and we operate in these 6 solution areas. IT telephony, notice it doesn't say IP telephony, I'll cover that in a second. Unified communications, mobility, customer interaction, security solutions in these areas, and a whole bunch of services to support these areas. Now, we believe that we are a unified communications software and services company as we move into the future. And we believe that the telephony-oriented vendors will have to become software and services companies as we move into the future. And we believe that the data SIs, the application SIs, will move very aggressively into the voice space. And I'll develop that idea a little bit further. We're about a $4.8 billion company. That number was lower about 6 months ago because that's the euro to dollar conversion. But you can see we're a major provider in every market. We're 1 or 2 in Europe, depending on the day of the week. We're number 1 in Latin America. We're in the top 5 or 6 in APAC, number 1 in large enterprises in China and India. And then we do a great business in North America. So we are primarily focused on large enterprises and are in a top 4 market position there. About half our revenue is services, just to put it in perspective as well. Now, there's been a few rumors about what's happening about the future of our industry. Jim talked about the consolidation in the industry. And almost 2 years ago, Siemens announced that they believed that there would be a consolidation in the industry for all the reasons that Jim articulated. And we believe that. And so I believe we'll have an announcement probably, if all goes according to plan. This is the 4th or 5th time I've said this in public, in 60 days. But it's our belief that fundamentally, if we want to succeed in the future, we won't succeed in being one of those major players unless we do some things fundamentally different. I'll develop this idea a little bit further, but I believe that the vendors who will be the big players are like Jim said. I think there'll be Microsoft, I think there'll be IBM, I think there'll be Siemens. Many of you would wonder why I left out one company, but I think they really haven't figured out yet that it's a software and services world. But of course, if they figure that out, they could be a player as well. I think what's impressive is that we've been able to maintain our market share, both in lines as well as in revenue. A little bit hard to see, but we're number 2 in revenue and number 3 in IP line shipped. So that's a little bit about our background and about how we see the future. Now, Jim defined unified communications, provided a definition, so I won't spend too much time on this this evening, but sometimes when you talk to people, there's a lot of different ideas. I think the key point that I would want to make here is that you need to bring a lot of different technologies together. But at the end of the day, we believe voice is the most fundamental form of human communications. It's the most intuitive, it's the most interactive, and I think it's the most effective. And we believe that any unified communications solutions will really have to be built around a voice foundation. Jim talked about across any media, across any devices, and he also talked about what I call a new way to communicate. Presence information, federation, virtualization, embedding communications into business processes. How many have teenagers? Okay, kids in college in the first couple of years. All right. So if you have those kids, it's the way they communicate. If you ever, I always think of my son playing Xbox. He's, literally people from all over the world. It's a full collaboration session, chat, voice over IP, the whole 9 yards. And just imagine what happens when they come into a business world. And that's really what unified communications is about, is trying to deliver that type of experience in a business world. Now, in 2005, the Gartner Group wrote an article called, let me just try and read it, I guess I have to look up here. IP PBX is a potential architectural dead end. And this is exactly the point that Jim was making. It will go from a vertically integrated voice over IP, I'm not talking about PBXs, I'm talking about voice over IP, a vertically integrated application to a horizontal application. And I think the best way you can think of it is to think of voice like an Oracle database. It's going to be a highly specialized application that supports a lot of other applications. So they said that the IP PBX is at a dead end, and we believe at Siemens that is true. Put in perspective, we ship about 5 million voice over IP licenses a year. Then, about a year later, Cisco at VoiceCon announced that they were renaming their entire product line UC. I think they put UC in front of everything. I thought it was a very clever way to lower your R&D expenses. But they did it. They were trying to make a statement to the market. Now, maybe the more significant announcement, and Jim talked about this, was when Microsoft said that they were going to enter the voice market. And they said that they were going to drive the cost of voice down by 50%. And that's where I said, no, I thought they were wrong, they'd drive it down even more. That was an interesting conversation, by the way, that I had with their CFO after that meeting. But in any case, the point is that I really believe that. But that doesn't mean that the whole value stream for all of you or us goes down. Because the voice is 25%. But then there's another 25% or so that's spent on devices, video devices, endpoint devices, software devices. Another 25% is spent on unified communications types of software, and another 25% roughly is spent on services. So I believe the price per user probably remains about the same. Maybe it goes down a little bit, but certainly the voice component will go down. And this is why Siemens believes that there must be consolidation in the industry. There are not going to be 8 gazillion telephony vendors in the future. There will be 2 or 3. Think about how a software model or a services model is structured. You typically, in the software, you'll have 1 or 2 dominant players and then everybody else. And this is what the voice world will look like in the future. Then IBM announced, right after Microsoft, at VoiceCon Fall, that they were entering a unified communications marketplace. And they announced that they would be delivering unified communications. And they, in fact, are OEMing Siemens OpenScape unified communications and embedding it into Lotus at the same time. Why? Because it was the only software-based, SOA-based product on the market. It's not a lot of the voice vendors think that unified communications is voicemail. Great, we're going to sell you a voicemail system and call it UC. Not that it doesn't have different capabilities, but the point is it has to be a web services, open software application to deliver on that value proposition. Now, where was Siemens? Well, as Jim mentioned, we got a head start. We introduced OpenScape unified communication software to the market in November of 2003. And I remember going out and talking to all the major press players, all the analysts, and in most cases having to explain to them what presence was, federation, things that in the software world you would take for granted. So we made that announcement. About 6 months later, we announced a software-based unified communications media engine. We called it a soft switch. We called it a voice over IP system because we didn't think anybody could understand it. But the truth was, it was a connection software for any type of media. Now, over the last 6 months at CeBIT, we made 2 major announcements. One was a unified communications appliance, which you can see here today for the SMB. And the second was the OpenScape UC server. And I'll develop that a little bit further. Because we believe that you fundamentally have to move from these vertical voice over IP and proprietary voice over IP systems, and really don't believe what the marketing guys say. The voice over IP system, I know I'm a marketing guy. I don't even believe myself, by the way. My kids certainly don't believe me. But in any case, the point is that the voice over IP systems, the converged systems from Alcatel, Siemens, Avaya, Nortel, Cisco, they're proprietary systems that run on IP networks. And so the next phase that we need to get to is open software systems that operate in the IT world. Now, Jim talked about this a little bit. So we believe that it moves from a hardware world and a network world to a software and services world. So this is a traditional TDM network. Site-based, proprietary, computerized. Kind of a mainframe. This is the world that we live in today, voice over IP. So it improved it. You have better networking, lower cost networking. It's probably more open hardware and software, but still, I think it's fair to say that it's proprietary and it operates on an open network. But the next generation, and the current generation really, of communications for voice will be software that runs out of a data center. So one software application running out of a data center for a company like IBM will replace 200 or 300 PBXs. And this has very fundamental implications for the businesses that we're all in. It will also operate on industry standard hardware, will use open software. It'll operate. That doesn't mean there won't be software like an Oracle environment or a Microsoft environment that is proprietary to the vendor, but it'll operate in an open ecosystem and allow you to integrate it deeply into business processes.